Hey, what is going on, friends? Welcome back to the channel where we talk about financial literacy, practical ways to make a side income on the internet, career growth, and the occasional mini documentaries. So if that's your jam, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. And in today's video, we'll talk about how to enter the tech industry without learning how to code and becoming a programmer. There is this huge misconception that in order to break into tech, you need to learn how to become a programmer. So in this video, we'll break that myth and for one, go over 7 high-paying non-coding jobs in tech, 2, the qualifications and backgrounds required for each of these, and 3, my tips on how to break into that role. I'm quite excited about this one, so grab yourself a cuppa and let's dive in. So before we get started on the first role, with each role, I'm going to compare it to as if we were building a dream house for a wealthy client and outsourcing it all. And that's because I've always found relating new concepts to things I'm fairly familiar with to help with my understanding. So with that said, let's get started with the first one. So in the context of building a dream house, we need someone to own the vision, to understand what our client's dream house is, and to make high impact decisions throughout the project. In the world of property development, you might call this person the lead architect. Similarly, in the world of tech, if we wanted to, for example, build a banking app, we would need the services of a product manager to help us shape the vision of the app, build out a list of value-adding features, also known as a roadmap, assist with the positioning of the app on the market, and finally, act on our behalf as the main stakeholder of the project. The vast majority of product managers I have worked with don't have any programming background and actually tend to come from either a research, IT, or even business and design background, because this is a role that is truly in the intersection of business, engineering, and design. In my opinion, this is best suited for someone who's a natural born problem solver, is creative, and has a good eye for design and a business acumen. And what I mean by having a business acumen is that you have to be able to prioritize and make decisions that work for the business you work for. And most often than not, these decisions will have a dollar value assigned to it. If this is something that you're looking to explore, get yourself a Scrum Product Owner or Agile Product Manager certificate. And while it's not mandatory to be certified, it will definitely help with the job hunt. I would also read a book called Inspired by Marty Kagan. So now that we have a product manager to own the vision of the new banking app, we need someone to help us stay on top of 3 things: the time, the cost, and the deliverables. Or in other words, how long will everything from planning to design to coding to launch take? But also, what will it cost us both from a materials, so cost of goods, and cost of the team on the ground? In the context of building a property, you need concrete, wood, cement, steel, bricks from a pure material perspective. But also, you need people on the ground like builders, electric engineers, painters, interior designers, and so on. But also, we need to stay on top of the agreed deliverables and manage any risk that derail us from delivering these. And just like in the world of property development, in software and tech, every team is likely to need a project manager, or also sometimes referred to as a delivery manager in some companies, to be accountable and oversee the time, cost, and deliverables of the project. The project manager also helps the team to stay on track of the agreed budget, plan major milestones, manage things like expenses, manage third-party supplier relations, and most importantly, set the team up for success from a project management process perspective. This role would suit someone who's a great communicator, is good with managing people, timelines, and budgets, but also someone who's naturally organized. So if you've been complimented for your digital savviness, your ability to work well with people and staying organized, maybe you should look into becoming a project manager. To get started, I would try to get certified in an agile Agile Project Management certificate. So in order to make data-driven or data-informed decisions when it comes to building this new banking app with all its new features and the roadmap, we should be relying on the services of a researcher. A researcher helps the product manager and the team with data to prevent making subjective, non-value adding decisions like designing and building features that no one wants or that no one is going to use. And in order to stay as objective as possible, UX researchers collect both quantitative and qualitative data, and they feed that back to the product manager and the team in order to help inform their strategy. So for qualitative research, they might be doing activities like doing competitive research, conducting one-to-one user interviews, focus groups, and so on. And for quantitative research, which is equally as insightful, if our banking app is already on the market and is being used, as a researcher, you'd be looking at user data to determine where users are dropping off. How easy are they finding the navigation? And also to use the data to uncover usability issues anywhere within the banking app. This is best suited for if you generally enjoy doing research, human psychology, uncovering insights, and you have an analytical mind. If this is up your street, I would pick up a book called UX Research: Practical Techniques for Better Products. Have you ever used a site or app and whilst it looked pretty good, it was a nightmare to actually use it? The navigation was hard and the interface wasn't intuitive at all. There's a saying in the industry, which is that if you need to teach people how to use your app, then you've already overcomplicated. The best apps and websites are the ones that are easy and intuitive to use. And this is where a UX designer becomes useful. A UX designer is accountable to ensure that what we design and build is useful, usable, and valuable. The importance of a great user experience also extends to products and tools we use in our daily lives. For example, while this car dashboard looks beautiful, you might argue that using it on a daily basis is not really the most practical and user-friendly. As a driver, you want to keep your eyes on the road instead of fiddling with touchscreens just to change a song. Or what about this lift? I mean, how would you even go about knowing which button to select? And contrary to the belief in large organizations, UX designers don't design the actual final interfaces. Instead, UX designers produce things like storyboards, customer journey maps, wireframes, sitemaps, which are all useful activities and tools to help visualize the user's actions and environment in order to design for their problems and needs in a way that is intuitive. So if you think UX is something interesting, I would start by educating myself on Nielsen Norman Group principles and articles on UX. It's a great resource platform with lots of free content. So now that the UX designer has carefully laid out the experience of the new feature in detail, it's now time to build beautiful and usable looking visuals, mockups, and interactions. In a world of property development, this would be the role of an interior designer. One of the biggest misconceptions of a UI designer is confusing it with a graphic designer. And just because someone is really great at Photoshop and is able to design stunning logos and banners, designing a iOS or Android app takes a complete different skill set. On one hand, you're designing a banner or logo that's meant to be just looked at with zero interactions. And on one hand, you're designing an app that's designed for a thumb that is meant to be allowing people to use a complex user flow. Of course, it helps if you have a background in graphic design. One of the best ways to break in the industry as a UI designer is to learn tools like Figma or Sketch and start designing apps and websites in public and share your work with the outside world, and keep an eye out on junior UI designer positions. Alright, so 2 more roles to go, and the first one is the role of a business analyst. Business analysis is one of the key roles in tech as they help the team in 2 main ways. One, they work with the designers and translate all the agreed user experience flows, diagrams and user interfaces into a set of very clear requirements that the coders can pick up and implement. When it comes to complex software development, it's incredibly important to communicate clearly and to ensure seamless handovers between the design phase and the coding phase. To illustrate how business analysts work with designers and coders, let me give you the following example. If you were to ask me to make you a cup of tea with a bit of milk and 2 spoons of sugar, and 2 minutes later I come back with a cup of tea with a bit of milk and 2 spoons of sugar, but you taste it and you go, well, this wasn't actually what you had in mind. Firstly, you wanted the milk to be skimmed milk. Secondly, you wanted the tea in a takeaway cup. Thirdly, you wanted brown sugar instead of white. And finally, I should have used Yorkshire tea bags instead of PGs. Now, of course, software development is far more complex than making a cup of tea. Hence why business analysts are so important in building great products. The second way business analysts help the team is that in some scenarios, there might be problems that we can't solve in our own in-house engineering team, and we need to look elsewhere, like for example third-party tools. A business analyst can help us with those problems too. This role would ideally suit someone who's quite digitally savvy and has a IT background without knowing anything about coding. Again, most BAs I know don't know how to code, but you should familiarize yourself with some business analyst best practices. And a great resource for this is a free platform called businessanalystexperts.com. Alright, so now that we have the product manager who has strategically prioritized the next few features of the banking app based on data that was supplied by the UX researcher, a great design that was translated into a set of clear requirements by the business analyst that then went on to be coded by the programmers, we're now one step away from launch. But before we can launch, we need to test if everything works as expected, but also to stress test the system on how it would cope under extreme circumstances and see if things are breaking. And to do that, we can employ the skills of a quality assurance engineer, who is someone that tests the app on different platforms, devices, screen sizes, browsers, and so on. And they give the product manager and the team the green light to launch the next version of the app. So if you're the type of person to be noticing small mistakes and issues when you're browsing the internet and using your favorite apps, maybe you should look into becoming a quality assurance tester. I would start off by trying to become certified as a software quality assurance tester. And I'll link everything I mentioned in this video in the description. Alright friends, so in this video, I could only go over each role at a very high level. If there's one particular role you want me to cover in a bit more detail, do let me know in the comments below and I'll reply to you. I hope this was useful and I'll catch you in the next one.